Hi, everyone. This is Tom Ehlers, founder and president of Method Test Prep. Thanks for hopping on for a few minutes with us. I'm going to be going through a bunch of information, answering some of the frequently asked questions that we've gotten over the years, but also have been getting recently. So let's hop right in. So I know this sounds very obvious to many of you, but whenever I present to a group of folks, I always like to sort of talk about the end goal. Obviously, scoring higher on the SAT and ACT means a student will get accepted to more colleges, and it often means a student will earn a larger academic merit aid package. So important objectives, and we just want to help in any way we can, help students score as high as possible on these exams. I did find it interesting that the College Board posted an update a few days ago, so I thought I would share that as part of this video. So first of all, the June SATs are on at this point, so that's number one. Number two, this paragraph that I highlighted here, I found interesting. So the College Board will be adding test administrations, no surprise, to make up for the tests that were canceled. And I was encouraged to hear that the College Board is looking to be as flexible as possible over the next couple of months. So making SATs available in school during the school days, also making the SAT available out of school. And sort of in line with that, when I read that they're looking at a range of creative solutions to address increased demand, it's hard to imagine, but just a few months ago, many students were being closed out of the SAT. Test centers were filling up, and some students, and this has been going on for years, some students having to drive quite a long way to take the SAT, travel. And that's because test centers only have a certain number of seats. And once those are filled up, the student has to go to the next closest location. So again, this has been going on for years. And it's nice to hear, or encouraging to hear, that the College Board is looking at some solutions, because there's going to be tremendous demand. Many students are going to need to take the SAT. They're going to want to take the SAT more than once. And so I'm concerned about there being enough capacity for students to take these exams. So anyhow, we'll look for more information from the College Board in the weeks to come. And it's not surprising, the last point, that they will continue to place a special focus on students with fee waivers and those with testing accommodations. So I always find that this slide or this question surprises many parents and students. For each additional question a student gets correct on the SAT, how many additional points is that on their score? So surprisingly, the answer is 10. Often when a student gets one more question correct on the SAT, it results in a 10-point increase in their score. So for example, if a student got X number of math questions, their SAT math score might be a 540. But if they got X plus 1 number of questions, then their SAT score might be a 550. And I like to share this especially with students, because I find that it resets their motivation, resets their optimism as far as how much of a difference they can make on their score. I'm very passionate that students can improve their SAT score 150 points. And the way I break that down is, if you get 5 more math questions, 5 more grammar questions, 5 more reading questions, that's a 50-point increase in each of those 3 subject areas, and that's a 150-point improvement. And over the years that I've been helping students and working with students, I've seen so many students able to accomplish this goal. And again, I know in my heart that every student can do that. So if you only remember one thing from this presentation, maybe just make it this, that just a handful of additional questions correct can make a significant difference on your score. So a question we get all the time, when are the best times to take the SAT and ACT? So as of now, both the June SAT and June ACT are on, and the June ACT is one of the 3 ACTs throughout the year that has a massive advantage. The ACT offers something called the TIR, which stands for Test Information Release. It means you pay about an extra $20 and the ACT will send the entire test back to you. So you can see which questions you got right, see which questions you got wrong, see what the correct answer is for the questions that you answered incorrectly. It is such a valuable service. My son and my daughter are in 5th grade right now, they're 11. So I've joked the last couple of years, I'm not that many years behind. Those of you parents who are going through this right now, when my son and my daughter are in 11th grade, they're going to be taking the June ACT for the simple fact that we can order the TIR. And by the way, when you register for the ACT, they make it fairly prominent. You check a box, I want the Test Information Release Service, you pay the additional fee, and you're all set. So they're going to be taking the June ACT so we can order the service so we can see what they're doing wrong. And another way I like to explain it is, imagine taking a 4-hour exam, getting a score you're not completely satisfied with. No one tells you what you did wrong. And then somebody says, hey, go take that test again. That's absurd, right? If somebody said that to me, I would say, no, I'm not taking it again. I don't even know what I did wrong the first time. Well, the good news is there's a better way. And so this service is offered on a couple of ACTs throughout the year and a couple of SATs throughout the year. So I'm going to post it on this next slide. So, and by the way, the SAT calls their service the question and answer service. Now, of course, this timeline has been screwed up this year, and I'm curious to see what the College Board will do. I would not be surprised if they make the question and answer service available on the June SAT, since the May SAT was canceled, and for many students, they could not take the March SAT. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they made the question and answer service available on more test administrations in the summer or this fall. But anyhow, for those of you with younger children or students on right now or listening, it's worth maybe taking a screenshot of this slide and just noting, I think a good plan for junior year is to consider the December ACT. And what I tell students is you're not taking the December ACT because it's ultimately going to be your best score. You're taking the December ACT so you can order the TIR, you can see what you're doing wrong, and you can use that to improve your score for next time. And by the way, I don't recommend the student takes both the SAT and ACT more than once. I think the smartest plan is take each test once. It's hard to predict which test you're going to do better on, and colleges are giving you 2 chances to be successful. You might as well take advantage of both chances. But once you've taken each test once, you can easily identify, you can Google, you can compare the scores, see which test you did better on, and you would take that test a second time. So for example, with the ACT, once you've taken the December exam in your junior year, you can take either April or June as your second and finally, and hopefully last exam. And then for the SAT, taking the March SAT is a smart idea, again, for students for next year. And people say, wow, that sounds like it's real late to wait till March of junior year. And if a student's ready earlier, they can go ahead and take it earlier. It's just, if you take the November or December SAT, you will not you won't have the option to order the question and answer service, which again, I think is such a valuable service. Okay. Just wanted to switch gears for a moment. My colleagues have done a great job on these classes every day at 11. This is our, I can't even keep track now, maybe our 10th one, but there are so many concepts that are so predictable. These tests are so repetitive. I couldn't help myself. I wanted to share this one slide. This is a classic sort of, when you hear about the SAT and ACT having quote unquote trick questions, there's different ways that you can label questions, and sometimes it's just a matter of semantics. But this to me is thought of as a trick question. The congressional panel issued their findings. That sounds fine, but when we recognize that a congressional panel is a singular noun, there is not correct, right? Because there is a plural pronoun. So instead, it should be the congressional panel issued its findings. And of course, students will say, yeah, but we know there are multiple people on the panel. Yes, there are multiple people, but it's still just one panel. If it was panels, it would be there, but it's just one panel. So its is correct. And this subject pronoun agreement concept is guaranteed to be on every single SAT and ACT. So it's one that if you make sure you're prepared for, you know you're going to be tested on it. You know you'll not only get these questions correct, but save yourself a bunch of time for some of the more difficult or unpredictable questions. Okay, so I have a few other questions to answer, but I did want to share that many folks have been asking. Obviously, all of us parents, we want students to be as productive as possible each day. And folks have reached out about us offering lower cost classes during what would typically be the school day. So we are starting our Test Prep Time Plus classes later today. And so the first one will be in 2 hours, so 1 p.m. Eastern. And it's a $10 class. It's going to go for about 20 to 30 minutes. And today we're going to focus on percents. Obviously a fundamental math concept. It's on both the SAT and ACT. It's something that students need to be comfortable with regardless. So those of you who are interested, we've emailed out the links, and we'll also post the links in a number of places. So this class is in a couple of hours, and then some other folks have said we'd rather have a class later in the day, sort of a longer form class. And so tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're teaching a reading class. We're going to share strategies for reading comprehension. This class, it's geared towards the ACT, but it will help students on either exam. So if you're looking for a longer form 2-hour class that focuses on reading, we have one of those tonight as well. And you can find these classes easily if you go to our website, methodtestprep.com. Like most websites today, it's very easy to navigate, to find different classes. These are called our power classes, which you can find right on the home page if you scroll down a little bit. Similar to today's class at 1, tomorrow we will be offering a grammar class. So writing and language is the technical phrase on the SAT, English on the ACT, but essentially these are grammar concepts, and this class is going to handle sentence placement, which again is a common concept that we know is going to be on every single SAT and every single ACT. And then rounding out our $10 classes this week, we're going to offer them every day this week at 1 p.m. Eastern. So on Friday, we're going to share some reading strategies. And in this case, how to annotate a passage so you can more easily locate answers and get through the reading comprehension questions more quickly. So that will be on Friday. And something else that many of you are already aware of, we've mentioned on these classes each day, we do have a self-paced program that we've had for 20 years now. It's become very popular recently, of course, with the school closures. But essentially, we give students a checklist to follow. It's a series of 15-minute tasks. Students can work through the tasks whenever is good for them. They can work through them at their own pace. It's all audio, it's all video, so students are listening to a teacher explain a particular concept. And then they're being presented with a set of problems. And if they have trouble with any problem, or even if they don't, they'll be presented with a video explanation. So students are watching videos as our expert teachers walk them through how to solve every single question. We have audio explanations to questions as well, written explanations. Students who follow the self-paced program improve their SAT score an average of 150 points and their ACT score an average of 3 points. And again, we're not asking students to move mountains. We're asking students to complete a series of 15-minute exercises. The program is normally $200. Right now, we do have a 50% off offer. And so jot down the code there. The code is just the word future. If you put in the word future in the discount code, the coupon code field, then you'll get the program for $100. And once you purchase the program, it's good through graduation. So for those of you out there, freshmen, sophomores, becomes a really good value. You're getting access for multiple years. Okay, so many folks end up reaching out to me after one of these presentations. They heard something that they want me to elaborate on. Maybe they have a specific question about their son or their daughter, or students, if you have a specific question. I had just earlier today, I had a mom reach out to me. Her son scored a 1310 on the SAT the first time out. And now, he's planning to take the June SAT, and she just wanted to discuss a plan. So that's a good example of typical kind of follow-up question we get. So if you have any questions about anything I've shared, feel free to give us a call. The number is right there. Feel free to email me as well. You can see my email is listed, and it's just Tom at, and then the name of our company and the program, tom@methodtestprep.com. Of course, you can visit our website, get a lot of information there, but please do feel free to email me with any questions, big or small. It's what we do all day, every day, helping families navigate this process as efficiently as possible. So for those of you who want to stick around for a couple more minutes, I do have a couple other frequently asked questions that I'll address. So next question here, how many times can a student take the SAT, ACT? So I've been asked this question over the years, many, many times, obviously, and I think the spirit of the question is often families are nervous that they only have one more shot. And so the headline I want everybody to hear is, you can take the SAT or ACT as many times as you need to. Now, I'm hoping a student doesn't have to take the SAT more than 3 times or the ACT more than 3 times. Obviously, these are grueling exams. The less times you have to take them, the better. But I don't ever want a student to feel like it's do or die, it's now or never, this is my last shot, right? Because that puts even more pressure and anxiety on the student. We've had seniors take November SAT, December SAT, December ACT. Many colleges don't make final decisions until February, March. And often a college will say, listen, you've been accepted here, but if you score a little higher, you have the chance to earn a larger academic merit aid package. And the schools typically don't, there's no limit as to how many times you can take the exam. You just keep taking it until you hit that number. And obviously with so much money at stake, the cost of college so high, taking the test again is a no-brainer. So I just want people to know you can take the SAT, ACT as many times as you need to. The goal is to not have to take a test more than 3 times. So we often get the question, what is a good score on the SAT, good score on the ACT? Obviously, good is a relative term, but the 1200 has been used as a benchmark number for a long time now. And it's important everybody knows the national average on the SAT is around a 1070. It's changed a little bit over the years, but The point is, if you score a 1200, that's well above average. That will get you accepted to many colleges, will get you often some academic merit aid. As far as the ACT goes, the national average is a 21. We have so many families reach out and they really want to score a 30, and I love that attitude, and I believe that many students can score a 30 or above. But if a student scores a 25, a 26, that's way above average. That's a good score that will get you accepted to a lot of colleges and universities. So just some thoughts there around what is a good score. So a question we get often, if you get a question wrong on the SAT or ACT, you lose how many points? And the answer is 0. And I'm sure many of you listening knew that already, but I think what's a shame is when we look at a student's question and answer service or test information release service, we often see a number of questions that they left blank. And they were told to answer every question, but in the heat of the moment, they forgot. So I find it's important to just remind students over and over and over again, you need to answer every question. And I have another slide here that I think I want to address right now. I'm just going to move it. So it kind of ties in. So you'll hear why in a second. How many questions are on the 45-minute ACT English section? If you want to go ahead and have an answer in your head, sort of take a guess. Maybe some of you know. So the answer is 75. So they only give you 45 minutes to answer 75 questions, which is challenging. It sounds impossible. It's not impossible, but it's challenging. But let's take an example. Let's say a student's working pretty quickly, and in 44 minutes, they get through 65 questions, which is pretty fast. And the proctor says there's 1 minute left. When you hear the proctor say there's 1 minute left for any section of the SAT or ACT, have to make sure to stop and bubble in an answer for everything, right? Because once that section's over, you're not allowed to go back. So just make sure you put an answer down for every question. People say, well, could that really make a difference? It could make a major difference because there are only 4 answer choices on most sections and on this section of the ACT. So if you have 10 questions and you just bubble in anything, B, 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 C, 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 just by probabilities sake, you're going to get 2.5 more questions correct. You might get lucky and get 3 or 4. That can be a 3 or 4 point increase on your score. So, so make sure you answer every question for both the SAT and ACT. The second point that I like to make about this question here is when people ask me, how am I supposed to answer 75 questions in 45 minutes? They essentially test you on the same 11 grammar rules over and over and over again. So you can memorize those rules, and if you do, you can answer those questions very quickly. And of course, on the ACT, speed is paramount. You just have to move through each section as quickly as possible. You can't second guess, you can't double check, go with your first instinct and move on. Taking the ACT is like sprinting for 4 hours straight, which yes, it's uncomfortable, but the good news is many of the questions are pretty straightforward. So anyhow, the way to answer 75 questions in 45 minutes is to know what you're going to be tested on. And if I may just go back for a second, our self-paced program, and this really is a no-brainer. Anybody out there listening, for $100, you have access from now through graduation. You're going to learn every trick, every strategy, every technique with video, audio. There are full-length exams you can take. There's an evaluation you can take. And there's also a section called resource materials. And in the resource materials section, we have cram packets to these exams, review packets. Students love these. It's just like when a teacher says, study this, it's going to be on the test tomorrow. And every student goes home and studies it because the teacher's pretty much giving away what's going to be on the exam. Well, we have the same things for the SAT and ACT. And here's an example. This is our SAT math review packet. So any student who prints this, studies it, and memorizes it is going to have a massive advantage on the SAT. They're going to be prepared for everything that we know they're going to be tested on. So again, these packets are in that self-paced program, in the section called the resource materials. So get the question often, can you mix and match your best scores? The answer is yes. The term is super scoring. Now you can't mix and match between the SAT and ACT, but if you take the SAT or the ACT more than once, you can mix and match your best scores. That used to be, or it's been accepted for many, many years on the SAT. It was less so on the ACT, but the ACT, in recent years, more and more colleges have allowed super scoring of the ACT, and now the ACT has announced that starting in September, they are going to automatically super score for students. So they will mix and match your best scores if you take the ACT more than once. So one thing you may want to email me on, reach out to us about, we have put together a number of documents families have found very helpful. We have this document, it's a college admissions timeline. So what to think about 9th grade, 10th grade, and then it's on the back side, 11th and 12th grade. So go ahead and email me, tom@methodtestprep.com, if you'd like this document. Also, we put together this document, top 10 things counselors need to know about the ACT and SAT. And what we find is counselors will typically take this document and then forward it out to parents and students. So if you'd like this document, again, just go ahead and email me or reach out via phone call. And then a third document that I thought I would just highlight today. So many parents and students ask about SAT versus ACT. So this is a document that many people have found very helpful and just gives you some thoughts as far as how the two tests are similar, how they're different. One thing I do like to share is on the SAT, 50% of your score comes down to the math sections. On the ACT, only 25% of your score comes down to the math sections. So for a student who's stronger in math than they are in English, the SAT may be the way to go because you know that half your score is going to come down to math. For students who are stronger in English than they are in math, I tell them to go into the ACT with a chip on their shoulder. And the reason I say that is you have the ACT English section. That's what we discussed earlier. Basically the same 11 grammar rules over and over and over again. Then you have the ACT reading section where all of the answers are in the passage. You just have to go back and find them. So those two sections, a student who is strong in English can score very well on those two sections. And then you have the ACT science section, but it's almost misnamed. It really is a reading comprehension section. And the reason I say that is the answers to the vast majority of questions are in the graphs, the tables, the charts, the paragraphs that they give you. So they give you a bunch of information, and they ask you science-related questions about that information. But again, if you go back to what they give you, you can find the answers. So again, a student who's strong in English, that's a section they can do very well on. And I like to share with students, the science section intimidates a lot of people. They design it that way. But if you take a deep breath and you go back to where the information that you're given, you can find the answers. So that's 75% of the ACT, really comes down to your verbal ability. Okay, and then just again to remind everybody, we do have these review packets to both the SAT and ACT. Students have found them very helpful as well. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here. I appreciate everybody's time. I hope everyone found a nugget or two of information in this video, in this presentation that they found helpful, answered some of their questions. Again, feel free to reach out via phone or via email. Like I said, it's very common for people to reach out. They want me to elaborate on something I said, or they want to share their situation and ask me what might be the best plan. That's what I've been doing for the last 22 years, trying to help each family come up with an efficient plan, not only efficient as possible from a financial perspective, but also from a time perspective, right? It's a shame how many students have wasted time in some type of SAT or ACT class that just wasn't appropriate for them. So have a great rest of your day, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you back soon for another test prep time.